Welcome to chapter 5 of the book of Mark. Jesus is up in the Galilee, northern part of Israel, around the Sea of Galilee, and we'll go to the map and we will show you where they're at. Here it is right here, the Sea of Galilee. And the Gadarenes are right down below. This is the Yarmouk River, and down around the E there on Decapolis is where the area of the Gadarenes. Now, these people possibly, I don't think they were Jews because they were tending the sheep. And the man here that we're going to meet, I don't know if he was necessarily Jewish either. It doesn't say. But it starts, and they came unto the other side of the sea, into the place of the Gadarenes. Horon, we have horography or map making, the chorography. And on his coming, having come forth from out of the boat, immediately there met him from out of the tombs a man having an unclean spirit. These tombs were there where they were at, and they're coming by that area. And the man with an unclean spirit, it's the same as a demoniac, has a demon in him, who had his dwelling in the tombs. And neither with chains no one was able to bind him. So the demon, one of the signs of the demon is the strength. They have this unusual strength and fervor, if you want to call it, or a frenzy, that they're able to do things like today in 2015, like people that are on methamphetamines, I suppose. And for this reason, it says in verse 4, he often with shackles and chains had been bound. Pedes, shackles, we have a centipede with the pede at the end, many feet. So with shackles, and here it's a shackle, and chains, had been bound. And the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the pedas, shackles, had been broken. And no one was strong enough to tame him. So this man was unusually strong. 5. And always niktos ke imeras, night and day. Niktos, we have nocturnal. Imeras, ephemeral derivatives. In the orasi, orography is a derivative. You can also add in your English derivative books another derivative in the 3735, O-R-E. And in the tombs, and always night and day in the mountains and in the tombs, he was crying out and cutting himself with stones. This man was completely out of it. He was just being tortured. And I was a psychiatric technician for a few years back in the 1960s, and I worked at a mental hospital where people were doing things like this, banging their heads against the wall until they were bleeding. It sounds gross, but when people, sometimes it can be something within the brain, a physiological problem, and there can be a spiritual, psychological problem. I hate to use psychology, but they were harming themselves. They had to put helmets on so they wouldn't beat their head against the wall. And beholding Jesus from far off, he ran and did obeisance to him. Wow. So this man sees him coming, and with these disciples around him. And having cried out with a great voice, he said, "What is it to me and to you, Jesus, O Son of the highest God?" So the demons can talk. This demon started crying out and knew exactly who Jesus was, O Son of the highest God. Boy, nobody else understood who he was, but yet the demon knew right away that this is what it was. The highest God, ipsistu. We have the word up from that, ipsistu. And then he says, Orkizo say, I adjure you by God that you should not torment me. Now, what was a torment to a demon is probably doing something good. I don't know. The opposite of to somebody hurting somebody, but he was tormenting the demon. So he adjured him not to torment him. For he said to him, as Jesus said to the demon, "Come forth, O unclean spirit, from out of the man." Pneuma as a derivative. So there is a spirit. I ran across a man years ago when I was at a rescue mission. I was preaching there for a couple of years, and the man from India was talking about the spiritual things, and he said he had come there for the spiritual things. And I brought out the thing and said, well, there's different kinds of spirits. There's agios, pneuma, Holy Spirit, and unclean spirit. Other spirits of a man can be neither one, just the spirit of a man. So which one? And he said, "Come forth, O unclean spirit, from out of the anthropo." And he asked him, Jesus asked, "What is your onoma name?" And he answered, saying, "Legion," legion, "is my name, for we are many." A legion had many troops in it, if that's the same Latin word, derivative into Greek. We are many. So it can take a form of having more than just one, because it mentions, I think, where Mary Magdalene, or these many, I forgot how many, many demons were cast out of her. And he appealed to him, the legion, much that he should not send them outside of the place. So this legion is talking for the other demons, not send them all out, exoderm, out of that place. And was there by the mountain a great herd of swine, megali, grazing. This is why I don't think they were Jews. Doubt that. And all the demons appealed to him, saying, I could just hear them all. You know, I don't know if the disciples heard this or not, but apparently Mark was told this story and heard it. Send us forth into the swine, that into them we should enter. There is, send us forth into the swine. Just many of them saying this. Oh, yes, we want to go into the swine. We should enter into the swine. In the imperative. And Jesus immediately, and Jesus committed them immediately. And having come forth, the unclean spirits entered into the swine. All these pigs. And the herd advanced down the precipice into the sea. So apparently they're on a high place there, where the tombs were into the rocks, someplace. I believe they should be on the eastern side, but I'm not sure on that of the sea. And there were about 2,000. That's a lot of swine. And they all went running down. Reminds me of years ago when me and my buddy were driving. We were like 18 years old, went out to the country. We were driving down this road, and we look up on this hill, and there's just thousands of turkeys. And there was a barbed wire fence right at the road. So I get out of there, and I'm looking at those, and I started, 18-year-old kid, start doing stupid things. I started going out real loud, gobble, 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 gobble. And all of a sudden, all these thousands of turkeys come flying over this hill, come and down towards me, and we saw that, and man, we just hopped in that car, closed the door, it took off with gravel flying. And I don't know what happened, but we didn't want to get in trouble for stampeding a herd of turkeys. But here, 2,000, that's a lot of pigs. 2,000 pigs, can you imagine? I mean, it's not just a herd, it's 2,000 pigs. I mean, that must have been taken up. I can't imagine how much area of land that was. It's like the turkeys on top of that hill, just thousands of them. And they're smaller than pigs, but so all these pigs running down, and it says, and they drowned in the sea, or they choked in the sea. And the ones grazing the swine fled and announced, in the city and in the fields, all of our pigs are dead. They're all ran down, and this man was there, and the crazy guy that we know was down there, and all this happened. And they came forth to behold what it is, that is the people there, and taken place. And they came to Jesus And see Jesus, yeah. And viewing the demon-possessed sitting down and being dressed, they probably knew him, so being dressed, and many is probably running around naked. And being of a sound mind, the one having the legion that they feared. Wow, this is really something. This man is completely normal. And they're used to probably laughing about him and warning people about him and all these things. And here's a guy completely normal. Makes me sad because I know people close to me in my house that are almost like this. They're not of a sound mind. And I just pray that, the Lord would touch these people and that because I know that the way they talk and say things, that they're not really, it's not them, it's this demon. And the ones beholding described to them how it happened, to the one being demon-possessed, and concerning the swine. Hey, this man came and all this, and so they found out, and they began to appeal to Jesus to go forth from their Orion, horizon. Horizon is a derivative for this Orion, from their borders. Oh, please leave us alone. Oh, we don't know. This is just too much. Please just leave. And of his stepping into the boat, the one having been demon-possessed appealed to him that he might be with him. Oh, let me stay with you. Oh, this is fantastic. Let me be with you. But Jesus would not allow him. But he says to him, go into your house, go unto your house to your own, and announce to them as much as the Lord did to you, and showed mercy on you. Well, here they could be Jews because he's mentioned the Lord. If they weren't Jews, and would they know about the Lord? I don't know. And he went forth and began to proclaim in the Decapolis. I had that on that map, was that area around there. As much as Jesus did for him. Jesus says to tell them all the things that God did, or the Lord did, and here he told them what Jesus did, which is showing that this man knew that Jesus is the Lord. And all marveled. Oh, wow. Everything. I mean, the disciples were marveling. Probably the people that knew this man and the people that owned the sheep, the swine, and everybody else. And then for 21 it changes. And Jesus, having passed through in the boat again unto the other side, there were gathered together a great multitude on him. So I think now he went over back towards the western side by Capernaum. And a great multitude was gathered together. Hey, he's back. And he was by the sea. And behold, there comes one from the chiefs of the synagogue, by name Jairus. Jairus is his name, a chief of the synagogue. And beholding him, he falls to his feet and appeals to Jesus much, saying that, my young daughter is next to the last, thigatirion mu. Daughter thigatir is a transliteration, the tha to da. And she is next to the eschatology of the study of last times. She's next to the last, dying. That having come, you should place upon her your hieros, your hands, so that she should be delivered and she should live. See, now here normally it would be saved, but here it doesn't mean, and it has nothing to do with her, like eternal salvation or anything like that. So that's why I don't use saved, except for if it was like saved from drowning, that she should be delivered, because this is what really it is being delivered. And here she's being delivered from this condition, and the condition was deadly. And she should live, he said, the Father. And he went forth with him. Jesus went forth with him, and a great multitude followed him and squeezed together on him. So all these people, he's by the sea, just, I don't know, hundreds, I don't know how many people, but they're just thronging him all around him. And so while he's walking with this man, the synagogue, a certain woman, gynecology is a gynae, misogyny, the gynae, hating women, a being with a flow of hematos, hemoglobin, ima, 12 years, a flow of blood for 12 years, a dodeca. The deca is 10, a decade, and do is short for duodeca. And suffering much under many iatron, physicians, iatry as a healing, a physician, and having spent the things of hers all, and not deriving benefit. I'm sure we all have felt that, spent a lot of money on medicines and doctors and hospitals and haven't really changed. Ophelithesa is a verb deriving benefit. Ophelia, the first part of this is a beneficial. Benefit is a name for a woman. But rather, having come to the worse, having heard concerning Jesus, she, having come among the multitude behind, touched his cloak. She heard about him. All these people have heard about the miracles that he's doing. And they're all coming and thronging him. And so she hears, and so she comes really close, edges herself up through the crowd, gets right next to him, and she just touches his cloak. Oh, for she said that, oh, if only I should touch his garments, I shall be delivered. Oh, what? She had this belief, and she just plowed her way through this crowd, got close to him, and touched him, but not letting anybody kind of know, just sort of like, yeah, I'm going to get there and I'm just going to touch him. It's like me. I go to these stories. Back in the 60s, I was in St. Louis in a shopping center. I don't know, when was that? Early 60s, and John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy, was running for president. And he came to the shopping center, and he was driving through, and just thousands of people. And I ran up to where the car might come, and it did. And I reached out, and my hand just touched his hand, and so not that was anything like Jesus, but this is something I remember. And so only if I should touch his garments, I shall be delivered. Can't say I was helped any by President Kennedy, but. And immediately the spring of her blood was dried. Xirosis is the derivative. It was dried. And she knew in the body that she was healed from the scourge. Now, I'm not a woman. I don't know how she would know, but she knew. And immediately Jesus, realizing in himself the power went forth from out of him, having turned among the multitude, said, "Who touched my garments?" He knew he knew there was power. There's something that was going out in the faith and the belief was sucking it out. Wow, this is amazing. And his disciples said to him, "You see the multitude squeezing you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to behold the one doing this. And the woman, being fearful, phobithesa, we have the phobia, whenever you see that phobia, it has something to do with fear, and trembling and shaking and fearful, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at him and told him all the truth. Oh, I have this problem, and it must have been embarrassing to talk about your flow of blood in a woman, but yet she confessed to him and told him. And he said to her, "Oh, daughter, the belief of yours has delivered you. Go in Irene." Irene is a derivative for peace. "And be in Ygieis." Hygiene is a derivative, "from your scourge." So she's healed, and now, while he was speaking, they came from the chief of the synagogue, saying that, "Oh, your daughter died. Why yet can inconvenience the didaskalon," the teacher, didactics, translative. But Jesus, immediately having heard the word being spoken, says to the archisynagogi, archi is a chief in the synagogue, chief of the synagogue, "Mi fovu," don't fear, only believe. And he did not allow anyone to follow together with him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. So it's interesting here that the woman was unclean from the flow of blood. If you go back into Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, it tells you if a woman's a flow of blood, she's unclean. Anybody that touches her would be unclean. So Jesus touched her, but she touched Jesus, so what happened? Jesus cleansed her. Jesus is still not unclean. Everybody that's unclean that touches Jesus is healed. The man with the legion that had the demons shall have been unclean, but yet that man is cleansed. Everybody is being cleansed. I went to this large church in Southern California, as I mentioned before, 2,000 or 3,000 people in the service, and once I believe somebody mentioned or asked how many people have been healed by doctors or by psychologists. And, a lot of people raised it. How many people have been healed by Jesus? Man, almost everybody's hand shot up. Jesus heals. And I just don't understand people not wanting Jesus, because the track record of Jesus is way better than any psychiatrist, any psychologist, anybody. Not that you shouldn't go to the doctor. I mean, I went to the doctor. If you break a bone, the doctor goes and sets it. And Jesus could straighten it up right away, but I'm not one that says you shouldn't go to the doctor at all. But the healing of that Jesus uses people is there. And Jesus comes unto the house of the archisynagogue, and he views a tumult and weeping and much shouting. Everybody's just crying, and they're upset because this young girl had just died, and they're just yelling and making a loud noise. And having entered, he says to them, "Well, why make a disruption and weep? The child has not died, but sleeps." Yeah, well, she's in the next room. Yeah, go take a look at her. They're probably thinking, this guy's, was way out there. I mean, I don't believe he had raised anybody from the dead yet. I think this is the first mention. I'm not sure, but she sleeps. Now here's another one. So Jesus, now what is he going to do? And they ridiculed him. But casting out all, he takes to himself the father of the child, patera, paternal, and the mitera, maternal, and the ones with him, James, John, Peter, and enters where the child was reclining. And beholding the hand of the child, he says to her, "See, now here's a dead body. A dead body would make him unclean. If he touched any dead body, he would be unclean." But yet, he touches the dead body, and what happens? The person comes back to life. He's not unclean again. And this just happens over and over again. And he says, Talitha Kumi, which is being translated, "Young woman, to you I say, arise." He said she sleeps. And I hope that's what they say at my funeral if people are around there. Not that he's dead, but he sleeps. And it should be in every Christian's funeral. He's not dead. He's just sleeping. A little deeper than normal, but hey, he's sleeping. So he says to you, "Young woman, I say to you, arise," which is the transliteration of this Talitha Kumi, which is apparently the Syriac language that the Jews spoke at that time that came back from Babylon and Mesopotamia. And immediately the young woman arose and walked, peripati, for she was 12 years old, so she was old enough to walk, and they were amazed with a great astonishment, megali. And he warned them much that no one should know this, and said to give to her to eat. Now, I'm not sure who the to them was. If it's all the people there that saw this, or if it's just the mother and the father and the disciples that were in the room that saw this. But that's probably what it was, and that they went out and didn't say anything. And the people, oh, here she comes out alive. I can't imagine that they've seen this. And he raises other people from the dead. The widow of Nain's son, who he runs across and touches him, and then Lazarus. And so it continues in chapter 6, and he continues in Galilee, and we'll continue with him. And I hope you'll join us in chapter 6, and God bless.